Hi, I'm Cesar Santos. Today I want to talk a little bit about the idea of using photography or painting from life. What should we use as reference to paint? When I was at the New World School of the Arts, a contemporary school, they had a totally different take on the idea of using visual reference for artists than, let's say, an academy later on when I studied here in Italy. And also talking to different types of artists, there is always this recurring question and commentary on the use of photography for artists. If artists should use photos or if we should paint directly from life. Before the idea of a machine capturing an image and calling it photography, we lived in a world of movement. Everything had a constant flow in the world. Nothing is static, nothing stops being. Everything is interrelated, everything is communicating with other things. The only things that we had that had a permanent image were symbols that humans made, whether these are symbols of numbers or maybe constellation, paintings in caves, some sculpture, all this stuff. Yes, they do move in time. I mean, paintings deteriorate and all this stuff change, but this permanent imagery that we were creating throughout our existence, there were selections from our mind of symbolic and meaningful things to capture and to teach us about something, to remind us about something, to take our imagination to another level beyond the realms in reality. So it was more of a human creating an image for other humans to be involved with and interact with. Before photography, humans used to select symbolic images, things that meant something to them, and try to capture it and compose it, combining them in a new way to give a different type of effect of response. Since humans are organisms of remembering things and bringing kind of like a pattern to their lives, we needed to echo certain experiences and collect from them and reproduce them. So obviously all this process was in line with nature, how nature works, everything corresponding to the next one and moving like that. And that's why images of all kinds and symbolism of all kinds made by humans change through time, because organisms only take what is important to them at that specific time that they need to reproduce. So humans in different places, in different situations, had different priorities, and that's how they selected things to do imagery for others to learn from and to refer to. After science developed in a way that with the knowledge of the machine and the knowledge of how light works, we could reproduce the idea of capturing an image onto a flat surface. I don't think at all that this is what ruined painting. Painting has an other thing that actually never stopped being. It's only the fashion that changed. Our philosophy, our literature, our purpose in life is the one that changed, that abandoned the idea of painting. Not that photography was so real and that was the goal of every artist, because artists wouldn't select an object to represent it just because it's there. An object symbolized something before it was selected to become an image. So an image almost reflected the idea of the mechanism in it. But even if we select something as symbolic to photograph, the machine doesn't know this. So the machine will only take that impression and give it to you with all the objects equally kind of separated. Life will always be the reference for a photo, but it doesn't mean that a photo is a realistic thing just because it captures the flow of life. It just means that in a split of a second, it got whatever the lighting situation was in front of it. It's actually a crop. It has no proportion. Maybe it has some symbolism because you still go to a sunset, you like it, you want to kind of capture that memory and take it home with you so you can remember maybe tomorrow morning a sunset that you had a couple of days ago, and you can look at that picture and remember it. We might say, can I go out, maybe like some action or something I see, take a picture of it, bring it to the studio, whether you look at it on a screen with RGB colors or you print it out, CMYK colors, you will have something to refer to as you paint. If the case was that you felt deeply about the subject and deeply about what you were selecting to photograph, then you can bring those emotions as a human into your studio and compose a painting that still feels alive because it will be in tune with your nature. You'll be in tune with what you experience, almost as if you were in front of that scene in real life. But the difference is that a shadow inside a photograph doesn't have the mystery of that darkness, doesn't have the three-dimensional form that is casting it, or the three-dimensional form that is projecting on it these shadows. You don't see the subtleties of the mood, you know? A photograph can change the field of color of any situation. So maybe in an afternoon that there is this golden kind of atmosphere, you take a photo with the wrong white balance and it will give you maybe a redder, bluish. Those things are the ones that are gonna be in the way of you experiencing real life. The sense of proportions is also something that you wouldn't have in a photograph, because a photograph is kind of a manageable thing. It's something smaller than us. And nature is so vast that when you're in front of it working, the idea that of proportions in front of you in relationship to the rest of what even of things that are not there is very important. A photograph of a river maybe doesn't show the importance of the sky adding color to that river, or some birds sounding in the background that live in that environment and the picture didn't grab it. So it will be a very limited reference. If you look at, let's say, outlines, in real life, there's no outlines. Everything is following each other and you cannot have anything without its context, its background. But a photograph will delineate everything for you. And in that way, it's kind of easier in some aspects because it's already on a flat surface, it's already with some color references. It has a lot of things that you can kind of copy and get an image that looks pretty nice, but it will not have the power of your life experience in this environment that you're creating. Also, the value range is different. As you live through a drawing, through a painting, takes time. And as you live through it, things change. Even if it's a still life, not moving, or someone sitting there, it is constantly moving. Light is bouncing around, sounds, vibration, waves. The whole experience is much fuller than if you just copy something that is completely dead, made by a machine that was already dead too. If you paint from a photograph, you'll be painting from a memory, because you will remember what those objects or whatever the reference is reminds you of, instead of at the moment that you're painting, you're actually making those memories, living the moment, and that will make a big difference in your art. If you're doing something that is already dead, that is a symbol of something that already happened, or if it's a continuous life experience of something that is transforming itself in front of you as you capture it, as you record this process. So what should we do? Should we work from photos or not? I think we should be open to every possibility. There are definitely things that a photograph can help the artist visualize and reproduce in an easier, more comfortable way than if you had to experience movement or things that are really hard to grab from reality. Your personality as an artist will not come across with its full potential if you're copying an image that came from a dead entity, a machine. Experience is what matters to us, and if you have a great experience doing it, that's what it is all about. We are in a world of material things, machine-made stuff. We are distancing ourselves from this pure improvisation that comes along with nature and might be turning into this rigid thing that expects a certain result. And I believe that we need to learn always from nature, because we are nature. And all this flow of organic things, when we look at it to represent them, even if they're not accurately represented, might tell a deeper truth than something that looks a little bit more literal to the objects that you wanted to capture. If we ask ourselves, what came first, the object or the image? I don't know, we can of course say that objects were here first, but do animals see things as images or as a symbol moving in constant change? Because I don't think you can show pictures of images to animals. I don't think they care. But I would argue also that the image came first, and then we started seeing objects isolated from their environment. Before images, everything was a continuous arrangement all together, and nothing could exist without the next thing, even outside of whatever picture. So as painters, we select from the whole of nature in our environment and put them into this flat image of symbolism, while a photography will just crop and select in a very narrow, focused, isolated way some of those elements around in nature. I can say also that an image came before an object because the image is what isolated the object to be recognized. I don't know. What do you think?
Ciao!
Madonna!
Ti piace?
Bel lavoro!